And now, from beyond our dimension, this is the JeffMara podcast. Here's Jeff.
My guest is Claire Daugherty, who, due to a car accident, had a near-death experience, which we're going to talk about and more. Claire, thanks for joining me and welcome.
My pleasure. Thanks for inviting me.
Well, Claire, let's start on the day that you had this accident and go from there.
All right. It happened in 1970. I was 20 years old, and I was living and working in France as an au pair girl. And I was on my way with my employer and her two children, to visit her mother in the northwest part of France, in Brittany. And in those days, this is over 50 years ago, the roads were two-lane country roads. We were driving late at night. The car was loaded because we were going on vacation, so there was lots of luggage. And she fell asleep at the wheel. There was a driving rain, and she went off the road as she dozed off and quickly awoke and tried to correct, and the car went into a very rapid spin. Now, I had been sleeping in the back seat with the baby, and as the car was spinning totally out of control, I remember having a very fairly calm thought that I'm going to die and just flow with it because there's nothing I can do. This is the end. And I just expressed a wish that the moment of impact would not be one of unbearable pain. And that's the last thing I remember. I was not present at the actual impact of the car. The car wrapped itself around a concrete utility pole. It hit with tremendous force. And the next day, when we went to see what was left of it, the question that everyone had was, how many people were killed in this? It was quite remarkable that all four of us survived. All are alive and well. My employer became a lifelong friend. She's now 84 years old. And I have visited her many times over the years. Having an experience like that where you come right to the brink of death, it's very bonding. I remember flying, and I don't know how I left the car. I was thrown from the car. I don't know if I went through a door or the hatchback, but physically I wasn't in the car. And I found myself standing before a huge oak door, like you'd see on a castle. And it had wrought iron door pulls. But my spirit could see on the other side. And it was the most unearthly, beautiful green field that you can imagine. Maybe like tourist posters for Ireland, but times 10. And there was a cliff dropping down to the sea, but it wasn't just the physical beauty. There was a sense of peace and joy, and I was just drawn. I wanted to go in. And as I put my hand onto the door to open and to cross over, two invisible hands came and thrust me back. And the next thing I know, my body, my physical body, was landing in a rain-soaked field. I landed on my back, and I must admit I was quite annoyed. The first thought that went through my head was, what a jip! That I was not allowed to cross over. And my next thought was, I wonder if my body still functions. And like Pinocchio coming to life, I noticed both arms were still attached and both legs. And I put my hand to my face to see if I still had a face. And my hand was covered with blood, which was just coming from a small cut. I did break my nose. But other than that, and it wasn't a serious, it didn't require reconstructive surgery, bruised from head to toe. And I quickly snapped to and realized I had to find the other people, the two children and the mother. And she was out of the car, and the 5-year-old was with her. And we looked for the baby together. And we found him. He was 18 months old in a lovely, soft, muddy spot. He had a cushioned landing. a short distance from a stone wall. So there was clearly heavenly intervention that all four of us were not destined to die at that moment. It's quite remarkable because, according to the laws of physics, we all should have been dead. But the baby and I were thrown from the car, and the mother and child in the front seat were badly bruised, but not even a broken bone. So after that experience, I realized I have no fear of death. Um, because I raised a large family, timing is important. I had a series of um, heart-like events that I won't go into the details on that. It appeared that I was having heart attacks, and I would go to the emergency room, but I didn't show any of the signs of a heart attack, even though the external symptoms, the markers weren't there. So I dealt with it on a spiritual level. I just came to the conclusion that this was a spiritual attack. And I did do something about it. I went to a 40-day retreat, and I went to a prayer mountain in Korea. It's called Cheongpyeong, and it's a retreat site, but there's also a state-of-the-art hospital there, offering both Western medicine and traditional Eastern medicine. So I was physically very drained at that time. I didn't want to die because I had young children, but it was more, not that I have any resistance to the idea of crossing to the other side, but the people in my life, it would have been really difficult for them if I left at that time. And now I do work as a professional medium, so I'm in and out of the spirit world every day. Um, I see myself as kind of a translator or an interpreter, which I actually do that not so much now, but I'm a multilingual, I'm a polyglot, and have worked as a translator. But now I translate spirit to earth for people who are missing loved ones or having problems in their family that they don't really know how to deal with. And sometimes by going with them and looking into their family a few generations back, we can pinpoint where the problem started and come up with some good ideas on how to address it. So the spirit world is very real to me. As I said, I'm in and out all the time. Well, I wouldn't say all the time. I do have an off switch. Otherwise, I'd probably be in a mental institution. I turn on when it's appropriate, and when it's not, I turn off.
It appears that when you were on the periphery of the spirit world, you were in a place of timelessness, because it seems like a lot of time did pass just for you flying in the air and landing on the ground.
Yes, physically it might have been seconds, but there was definitely a sense of timelessness. It was a very joyful experience. It was an experience of tremendous anticipation, of feeling very safe and protected, and just I wasn't admitted.
Now,
I didn't have my ticket yet.
when you say that you were having a spiritual attack, does that mean that like some evil entity was attacking you?
Well, I'll keep this to 25 words or less. Some person, for their own motivations, were causing a lot of a spiritual attack for me. I didn't know that at the time, but because I've discovered that some years later, because at that time, um, my symptoms were very physical, but every time I would be treated, the doctors were baffled, and they said they finally decided it was panic attacks, and somehow I didn't buy that. I was in a hospital once, and one of them came on, and it was a Seventh-day Adventist hospital, and the nurses wear a little pin with praying hands. And if you see a nurse with a pin, you can ask them to pray with you. So I asked her to get me a Bible. Of course, in an Adventist hospital, they have them. And I began to read the 23rd Psalm. And I said, "Does this look like a panic attack to you?" My goal was just remain completely calm. And of course, I was in a hospital, so they were monitoring my blood pressure. And that poor woman, her eyes were as big as saucers. And she just said, know. But an interesting thing is you're only vulnerable to this type of spiritual assault if you have, think of leaving your door unlocked or your windows unlocked. Burglars can get in pretty easily if they have open access. So I came to the conclusion that there was something in myself that I had to remediate, that I had some connection, some hook, that these lower entities were able to affect me physically. And that's why I decided to go on this 40-day retreat. And I did get physical treatment. I was very run down. In fact, when I went into the Oriental side of the hospital that was there, the doctor was shocked. They take your pulse on both sides, and she was an acupuncturist. They can diagnose you that way. And she thought that I was dying because I had virtually no chi or life energy. So she made me go upstairs to the Western hospital to be checked for cancer to make sure I was not, in fact, in late stages of a terminal illness. And I wasn't. And she was able to work with me on the physical plane to build me up again. I had 6 weeks to do it, but there are some spiritual disciplines I practiced. And I came to realize that I had a lot of resentment. And this is really poison. I do a workshop on forgiveness, and I just really called on all my angel friends and God and any other help that was there to really release this resentment. The attacks did continue. However, when I would feel one coming on, I felt confident that I knew what it was. And I would either start laughing or singing. And I would say, not today, guys, sorry. And I would sing, upbeat songs, hymns, laugh, and they just dissipated. And it actually was several years later, and it was confirmed by a medium friend that I realized I actually had been under attack. So that kind of stuff is real. A lot of people in the West think it's nonsense, but I'll tell you it's not. Just as light workers have tremendous power to spread healing and to spread goodness and to create a template for world peace, there are people that know how to mobilize the lower realms, and they do it. But you can protect yourself. And like I said, when you go to bed at night, you make sure your windows on the first floor certainly are locked. And you lock your doors, and you just take reasonable precautions. But on an internal level, what I came to realize was I had to really bring myself up to a much higher vibration very deliberately and stay focused there. And I found the best way to do that anyone can do is gratitude. And I have different gratitude practices. When you live from the viewpoint of gratitude, you're pretty well defended. And I do a workshop on gratitude. Um, it helped me through a very difficult time in my life. The worst was yet to come. That incident was just the beginning. And some years later, when I discovered where the attacks had originated, a lot of information came to me that I had to deal with. And the way I dealt with it was through deliberately practicing gratitude every day, writing thank you notes every day. Write one thank you note. And within a month, you'll run out of your close friends, and then you'll have to start meeting new people to thank. The barista in Starbucks, or a clerk that smiles at you in the grocery store, the person who gives you, some people you can't really get their contact info. It'd be very invasive, but some it's not that hard. Writing thank you notes to the bosses of people who had helped me in their professions, gate agents at the airport. One woman in Vienna really helped me with a tough booking on a train. And I got her name and I wrote to her supervisor, and I got a letter back. And you never know how a simple expression of gratitude can have really quite a ripple effect. Some friends of mine were so touched when I just wrote them a note saying what their friendship had meant to me. They started doing it too.
Well, you've also had encounters with angels. Did that
Oh,
did that ability come as a result of your NDE?
I think that I was aware of angels from the time I was a small child. I had a rather traditional Catholic education. I went to Catholic school, and by third grade, I knew the guardian angel prayer. And my mother taught me to pray. I couldn't have been more than 3, very simply. But the spirit realm was very real to me, and I felt protected. I felt I had an angel with me that was looking after me. And as an adult, I read a book by a friend. It's a very small book. It's on Amazon. It's called Circles of Angels by Nora Spurgeon. I call it a one pot of tea book. If you make a pot of tea, by the time you finish the pot, you finish the book. But she gives some very simple techniques of ways to mobilize angels. And I started practicing these things, and I found they worked great. One is to ask your guardian angel to work out something with someone else's guardian angel when you're having problems with your boss, your teacher, your students, your husband, your wife, your parents. Ask the angels to smooth things out. And angels don't take sides, they just want the greatest good for all. And they come up with very ingenious solutions. My husband and I have been married for going on 43 years, and we wouldn't have made it this far without a lot of angel assistance. We come from very, very different cultures and backgrounds. Um, but here we are, and we're still plugging along.
Well, have you ever seen an angel with your eyes in real life?
Um, Now that's a good question. I see lots of things with my spiritual eyes. I don't usually in a state of meditation or prayer, I do see angels, lots of them. Sometimes specific angels will show themselves to me, and that's happened a couple of times in a meditation. And I know that they are coming because I will be called to do something more than I'm already doing. So they introduce themselves and let me know I've got new staff members. When I do my readings, which I do almost every day, there's a whole team of angels that helps me. I don't see them physically like Lorna Byrne does, but I do see them, and they're very, very real. And they vary. They're not the same ones all the time. Um, there are different groups of them. There's one group that I usually see them in white robes, very simple white robes. My team, they wear gold sashes, but sometimes they'll have other insignia depending on the person that I'm reading for. They'll have some little identifier for that particular person. And then there's another group that are really interesting. I refer to as my men in black. And these angels show up and they're always male. They appear to be male. I don't think angels are male or female, but they have a lot of authority. They wear black suits like the men in black. They look like Secret Service guys. And they show up when I have to go to a realm that I normally would not be comfortable in. Maybe it's too high for me. You know, we all have our range depending on our spiritual development. And to go lower or higher, I need assistance. So they'll show, when I see one of them show up, they usually show up in readings, I realize that, oh, I'm going somewhere special today. And they will escort me and make sure I get back safely.
How does somebody contact their own guardian angel?
Well, when I do my angel workshops, I do a guided meditation. but I think anyone can do one on their own. Go on YouTube and pick some meditation music that appeals to you and just ask your guardian angel that you want to see or feel. Some people, when I do my guided meditation to meet your guardian angel, some people have a very visual experience. Some people have a very emotional, tearful experience. Some see color and light. Some just feel in a cocoon of love. It's very personal. I encourage people to give their guardian angel a name. And I found as I've done this angel workshop in over 30 countries. I think it's over 40 cities all around the world, sometimes several cities in a country. I find the names are always very local. I tell them, ask your guardian angel, what's their name? And often it's the name of a family member or a hero. Um, my guardian angel has a very simple name. Her name is Sarah. I see her as a feminine presence. My husband's guardian angel is Billy. So they don't have to be majestic. But some of the other angels that work with me who are more heavy hitters, they help me because I work with groups of people. They have more traditional angel names. Often the angel names end in L. And yeah, they're more classical names.
Has the memory of your near-death experience faded over time?
Not at all. No, that was very vivid. Um, and no, it hasn't. It's been over 50 years. I'm 74 now. It happened when I was 20. And it was very life affirming, I guess you could say. And it's not as dramatic as many people. I didn't have a conversation with Jesus. I just got turned away at the door. I wasn't let in. And I was allowed to come back into my body, and my body was still fully functional, which is pretty miraculous. I mean, I was thrown quite a distance from the car. My sandals were knocked right off my feet. It was quite an impact.
Good thing your feet didn't get knocked off.
Amen to that.
As a result of your NDE, do you feel like you've got any new abilities that you didn't have prior?
I've always been a bit psychic. When I was a teenager, I started reading about palmistry, and it was just something fun. And I read some books, and I asked to see all my friends' hands, and people were surprised that it was fairly accurate. But I did notice that when I would take someone's hand, I would pick up downloads, I guess you could say. And as time went by, I learned other techniques, which to me were just kind of fun. But when I started doing Reiki in the 90s, I worked with a partner, and we were kind of known in our circle of friends, and people would come to have Reiki from us. And I would just have a running narrative. You're actually not supposed to do that in Reiki, but I didn't know that. But just started doing readings spontaneously. And I realized that I really could help people through my readings. And I paused for a while. I had another baby at that time, and I needed to kind of stay firmly anchored. I was an old mother. I had my last child just before I turned 45, and my energy level was not that of a mother 20 years younger. And about 15 years ago, I resumed doing my mediumship, and it's taken me all over the world. In 2017, some angels asked me to take this overseas. I had a trip to Europe coming up anyway, and I protested at first and said, that's ludicrous. But they promised me that if I would just do this and share with people the reality of the angels and the help that's available for anyone who asks, the main thing that they require is our intention. If our intention is pure And we are working for the greater good, for the well-being of everyone. They're delighted to work with us. And they can help us in many, many ways. And when I started to do these angel workshops, I experienced miracles. And I just got another invitation and another invitation, and everything was provided for me, from my transportation to my lodging to venues. And my name was kind of passed along the grapevine. And as I said, I think I've been to 30 countries at this point since 2017 doing the angel workshops. And I have, a lot of invitations waiting. Also in the States. I've been trying to do more in the United States lately. But I'm just a PR agent for the angels, I guess you could say. I'm
If
trying to get them bookings.
if you had a friend that was grieving over the loss of a loved one, what type of advice would you give?
Well, first, I would want to tell anyone who's grieving, life is eternal. Anyone who's had an NDE can attest to that. And you can go on your podcast. I guess you interview NDE experiencers every day. So we never really die. We shed our meat suit, our physical body, but we're still there. We're in another dimension, perhaps. But the love that you have, it lasts. And we will be reunited to the people that we have that bond of love with. And the world is changing. The veil is lifting. And it's easier and easier for the spiritual world to contact the physical world. I've talked with other mediums, and they are experiencing the same thing. It's so easy to connect with the spirit world right now. One thing I encourage people who are in the throes of grief is to get a journal and a pen and meditate and ask their loved one a question. Just write down whatever comes. We all have some psychic ability. It's just that we are trained out of it. When I was a child, I saw spirits, and I had a little friend. He was my little spirit friend. His name was Tommy. And I was told repeatedly that he wasn't real. So I became careful when I was playing with Tommy. I would tell him, "Shh, I can't talk now." And then eventually I just forgot about him because everyone around me told me they weren't real. Now, I do remember when I might have been 3, 4 at the max, because we left that house when I was 4. I saw a very scary man standing in the corner of my parents' bedroom in the middle of the night. And I woke my mother up and asked her to make him go away. And she looked straight at him and said, "There's no one there, dear." So I thought, that's how you get rid of them. You look them straight in the eye and you say, "You're not there." So I was trained, which is how our culture views the spirit world, to deny it. Now, in some other cultures, indigenous cultures in particular, people live a very natural relationship with the spirit world. Um, it's just part of life. But we're trained out of it, but we can relearn it. We all have that ability to some extent. And soul journaling, not just writing, "Oh, today this and that happened at work. I'm so mad at so and so." No, that doesn't help anything. But learning to listen, sit quietly. To me, prayer and meditation are like a pair of shoes. Which one's more important, the left or the right? You need them both if you have 2 feet. So prayer is stating your desire, your intention, your request. You can also tell God what you're going to do. "I will hear my Lord, send me," as the prophet said. What you intend to do, how you will serve, and then wait for the answers that come. And they will come if you're listening. So when you're grieving, allow the person you love, and they love you too, allow them to come to you in a moment of inspiration. Get quiet, still yourself, and live with the assurance you will see them again. It's like they're deployed or away at school, but they're not gone forever. Have a reading. I I always am delighted when the person on the spirit side helps me to let my sitter know it's definitely them, with inside jokes, with shared memories, um, something they're wearing. And most of my clients I do not know. My name is passed around on the grapevine. Some of them are friends that I know, but many of them I don't. But it's always um, surprising to me how good the spirit world is at giving evidence. Hey, it's me. One of the funniest ones I ever had, I was doing a reading for a lady. She was speaking Japanese, which I don't speak, and she was using a translator. And she and her husband, she was wanting to get in touch with her husband. And he brought her this enormous fruit cake the size of a car tire. And I thought, well, that's not part of Japanese culture. What's the fruitcake? And immediately I started analyzing, trying to figure out what could a fruitcake represent. And the woman burst into tears when I said he's got this massive fruitcake. That was his hobby. This was how he showed love to people. He made them fruitcakes. Of course, fruitcakes is very labor intensive. It takes weeks to get a good one. And he made her this massive fruitcake. It meant something to her. It didn't mean anything to me. I was really puzzled by it. Another time, a lady was grieving the loss of her 13-year-old child. And he showed up. It was some years after he died. He showed up as a young man with a big polka dot bow tie and a little clown hat with a squirting flower. And I was afraid to say that because I thought this woman's going to think I'm making light of her pain. And again, she burst into tears and said, "That's him, that's him." We had a song we used to sing about polka dots, and he loved clowns. So he showed up as a clown. So people do that. People on the spirit side, they'll do that just so that the person listening knows, I couldn't possibly make this up. Another young man who died young, his family has an annual reading, and the whole family gathers, and they asked him a serious question. And his answer was, bake brownies and use lots of walnuts. I thought, what? That is everybody just started rolling on the floor laughing. Apparently, when faced with a problem, he would bake. This was how he would show love to people. This, if he needed to make a peace offering, and it always had to be chocolate. So brownies with lots of nuts was his signature program. And I feel so privileged every time I can do a reading for someone and connect them with their loved ones. It's really a joy.
As a medium, how do you trust these things that come through?
Well, like everything else, practice makes perfect. I didn't always trust them, but I did, after I had been kind of flying by the seat of my pants as a natural medium, I went to mediumship development classes at my local spiritualist church. And one of the primary rules, I learned the etiquette and the ethics of mediumship. Um, if you have a great voice, doesn't make you an opera singer. You need training. If you have lots of training and no voice, you'll never be an opera singer. So I had the natural raw ability, but I learned some very important protocols. And one of them is, the first one you learn, give what you get. When I do a reading, they last 1 hour. And for the first 20 minutes, I do what's called a blind reading. And in most cases, I do not know the person, or if I do, very superficially. And for 20 minutes, I just give them whatever I'm getting, like the young man with the polka dot tie and the squirting hat. Um, and then for the next 40 minutes, I encourage people to ask any questions they like, invite different people they'd like to see. And in the 20 minutes, I do tell people before you come to the reading, think about what you want to get from it and write down some points you'd like to address. And many times their questions are answered in the first 20 minutes. So that gives them a lot of verification. As I said, I couldn't make this up. There's just no way, because I don't have access to this kind of knowledge. Sometimes what's given in the blind reading is very symbolic and kind of obtuse, but as we go through the reading, it becomes clear what it represents.
Well, after watching this podcast, people may want to reach out to you and ask you questions. Are you open to that?
Well, I don't want to open Pandora's box and get 5,000 requests. I only do one reading a day, and I'm always willing to help as many people as I can. When I'm on tour, I'll do several in a day, but I get like a special angel team. They're like a battery pack, and they assist me to do one after another after another. Yes, people can contact me. I'm on Facebook, Claire Daugherty, and I have a large multicolored family on my opening page. Um, that's an old picture, by the way. I do have a large family, and they're scattered here and there. We haven't managed to all get together in the same place since that last picture was taken. I'm wearing a white jacket with black trim, holding one of my grandchildren in my lap, and there are lots of people behind me. Yeah, I'll try. What do you suggest? I'd rather not give my email out, as I'll be buried alive, maybe. What do you suggest?
Whatever's comfortable for you. I mean, if you want to just give out your Facebook, that's fine.
Yeah, Claire Daugherty. I live in Norfolk, Virginia, and I especially find it very gratifying to alleviate people's grief, to give people hope. Um, Laughter is very powerful medicine, and when the spirit person can make the left behind loved one laugh, and they often do, it really lightens their load, and they can focus more on the love that they shared rather than just the loss, and understand that it's not their turn yet, that their turn will come soon enough, and to focus on living. It's like the past person graduated, but the other person's still in school. They have more lessons to learn and more exams to pass. So focus on living, not don't live in the loss. Grief is inevitable. It's part of being human. Everybody must go through a process of grief, and it's a healthy thing to just do it. But I do think that a reading can be very helpful. And I'm not the only medium on the planet. There's lots and lots and lots of people that are good mediums, and they can help people have an experience with their loved one in the spiritual world. As much as I love to do readings, I love even more doing my angel workshop. And I have a deal with the angels. I never charge for the workshop, it's always free. And then I make my expenses by doing readings afterwards. My husband and I do have a nonprofit foundation in Haiti. And during our coffee break, I invite people to donate to the Kingmaker Foundation for the work we do in Haiti. We work with education and helping children that otherwise wouldn't have a chance.
If people want to find out more about your angel workshops, how do they do so?
They can also contact me on Facebook, and I will next year. Are you listening, guys? I'm going to be doing a lot more work online. As I mentioned, I'm 74 and I'm very low tech, but I need to, learn and get some assistance to put these angel workshops online so they can be there for everyone. One of my heroes is Lorna Byrne. I don't know if you've heard of her. Angels in My Hair, Angels at My Fingertips. She's an Irish woman who has really told the world the reality of angels. I got to meet her. It was wonderful. And her books are translated into 30 languages. So I encourage people, read something by Lorna Byrne. Anything she has is good. Her last name is spelled Byrne. And order Nora Spurgeon's book, Circles of Angels, Nora Spurgeon on Amazon, and Lorna Byrne. They have great information about angels. And I tell people I can sum up my angel workshop in one word: ASK. Ask. Invite them. Ask for them to help you. And they're only too happy to do so.
Claire, before we finish up, can you leave us with one last positive message?
One last positive message. The purpose of our life on earth is to learn to love. We need to love ourselves, and we need to love everybody else. There are no enemies. There is no us and them. It's just us. We're all us. And Jesus said it pretty well. Love your neighbor as yourself. So when we understand who we are each a spark of the divine. We are each a manifestation of God. And when we realize that, then we realize so is everybody else. And we better treat them with love and respect, care and concern. So in one sentence, the purpose of life is to learn to love.
Claire, thank you for your message, and thank you for being my guest.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me, Jeff. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks for watching the Jeff Mara podcast. I really appreciate you. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. And if you do, there are loyalty badges and other perks depending on your level of membership. All you need to do is click the join button underneath the video to find out more. Thank you for your support.